Good morning. You're watching DeProgram with Ted Rall and John Kiriakou for Monday, November 10th, 2025. Good morning, John.
Good morning, Ted. How are you?
I'm good, but maybe not quite as good as Ghislaine Maxwell. The news just broke about a minute ago that a whistleblower exposed that she has asked Trump to commute her sentence and that prison employees say she's receiving quote unquote concierge style treatment.
Man, this is bad. This is bad. Rudy Giuliani was just pardoned early this morning, and all these other criminals who had something to do with denying the 2020 election. This is, I don't know.
And meanwhile, here you sit, waiting by the phone.
Quite literally, Listen, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I had coffee on Friday evening with a cabinet member. And he told me to be patient. And I said, it's only because you're saying that I will be patient. But
you've been patient.
I've been very patient. And
it's November.
I don't know, man. I have to watch what I say, which is another thing he told me.
Yes.
But
and we all understand that.
And I appreciate it. But I have to say that I'm not sanguine that this is all based on justice.
No, I mean, let's face it, the pardon right is something that goes back to monarchy.
Yeah.
And we inherited from that. So it's not really, a democratic, small d democratic process. No. So, we're crossing our fingers, and obviously like I said, I'll reiterate that we all understand there are things you can't talk about and shouldn't talk about. So, we all want you we want that to come through.
Thank you. Ted, really for me, the bottom line is there is literally nothing else that I can do to make a strong case. There's nothing. I've done it. I've done it all. I've been on every show I needed to go on. I've said all the things I need to say. There's nothing else I can do.
No, I would say that's probably true. I mean, it drives me a little crazy because when I hear about, like this morning, when I heard about the pardon, when I woke up, I was like, oh, blanket pardon. Baby John can be under the big blanket.
I actually read the article. It was the first thing that I woke up to this morning. I read the article thinking, well, Giuliani's the headliner name. Maybe I'm buried somewhere in the bottom. Because oftentimes what Trump does, unlike what other presidents have done, he'll pardon someone and not tell anybody. And they read about it in the press. Like this Binance guy.
Bizarre.
This Binance guy said over the weekend, Ted, that he never met Donald Trump. He never asked for a pardon. He never even applied for a pardon.
Wow.
And Trump pardoned him anyway.
Yes, it's so weird and quirky. Well, we got a lot to talk about, and hopefully one of these mornings we're going to have your pardon to talk about.
God, I hope so.
Don't forget about the show when you're taking all those calls. Because it would be easy to be distracted. I always think the worst thing, and this is like my warning to you, make sure you stay healthy, because there was a guy, I don't know if you remember him, maybe about 20 years ago, and he lived in New York City. I think he might have been at Columbia, but he could have been at like Brooklyn Polytech. I want to say Brooklyn Polytech, but he got the call from Stockholm that he had won the Nobel Prize in possibly physics or biochemistry. Anyway, he's a Yale professor. He gets into his car to drive up the Connecticut Turnpike up to New Haven, and en route he has a fucking heart attack, crashes his car, and dies.
Oh my God!
And it was like, obviously he was so like incredibly excited and overwhelmed, it killed him. So yoga.
Well, I may, if I get a pardon, I may take that day off so I can go buy guns. which I've promised myself is the first thing I'm going to do.
Well, at least John Kiriakou is stimulating the economy. Even if consumer spending is starting to slow down a little bit. All right, let's go ahead and talk about what we're going to be talking about, among other things. And as usual, we always love to get the questions and comments in the Rumble and the YouTube live chats. Much appreciated. All right, so obviously the big news of the day is what appears to be the formation of a deal. Possibly it's really a deal related to the shutdown. We'll get into that. Also, there's this pardon that we just alluded to for 77 Trump affiliates, including Giuliani, Sidney Powell, Mark Meadows, and so on. This was all related to the 2020 efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 election. Also, super interesting story about the German investigation into the Nord Stream pipeline explosion. It's almost starting to make me doubt my doubt, but we should get into that. John, what are you interested in talking about first?
Well, to tell you the truth, if you don't mind spending 5 minutes, I want to talk about something that I posted on Facebook day before yesterday from The Blaze. Literally nobody else has picked this story up, but The Blaze is reporting that the FBI has zeroed in on the January 6th pipe bomber. That is, that person seen in security footage placing pipe bombs in front of the RNC and the DNC. Mm-hmm. And that person is a Capitol Police officer who had been on rotation to the CIA doing physical security. Now, this is a female Capitol Police officer, now former Capitol Police officer, who was injured in college sports, and so has a limp. And they were able to deduce from her limp that she was the bomber. Now, when The Blaze sent a reporter over to her house just to take a look at it, they saw immediately that the house is under surveillance, and that surveillance is likely the FBI. Now, the Blaze was very clear that this woman has not been charged with a crime. She has not had this case turned over to a grand jury for indictment. They just have used this technology to determine that it is likely her, and they put that likelihood at 94%.
That's very precise.
It's very precise, and I think they did it, using computers. But this is a story to watch, because if it's true, it adds a whole new layer to January 6th.
Well, how so? Delve into that a little bit.
Because then if it's true that it was her, did she do it on behalf of the CIA, or did the CIA know she was doing it, even if she was acting independently? Was this some kind of a task from the Capitol Police? Was she a rogue that had infiltrated the Capitol Police and then asked for a CIA transfer? I mean, who was doing what in this situation? We don't know anything.
It does, in the weasel words of newspapers, raise questions, doesn't it?
Yeah, indeed.
So, by the way, I before we get full on into today's show, I really want to do a little housekeeping. Please like, follow, and share the show. We appreciate it. We are going to be here tomorrow, even though we usually take federal holidays off. But tomorrow is Veterans Day, and no disrespect to the veterans, but we will be here tomorrow morning at 9:00 Eastern as usual, and throughout the rest of the week. Also, we really want to send a big DeProgram thank you. We did achieve the $1,000 goal for Robbie Aid. So Robbie's fully funded between you guys, and you're welcome to contribute if you'd like to. Here's the URL again if you're interested. There's nothing wrong with sending more if you want. GiveSendGo.com/West Glacier Gaming is the URL. I'll leave it up there for a sec. But basically he's funded for the month of November. We will be back on December 1st bugging you again. But basically the goal here is you guys pay $1,000 and John and I each pay $250, and we have a producer, and Robbie will be back full time with us after his notice is over. He's on beginning week 2 of his 2-week notice at his current employer, from which he got doxxed next Monday, on Monday, November 17th. So you're going to want to be here for that. And I'm sure Robbie will pop in from time to time, as he is wont to do. Anyway, thank you again for your incredible generosity.
Thank you.
We really appreciate you guys, and
That's
your
wonderful.
support is incredible. Okay. So that's a story to watch. All right. I think we should talk about the shutdown deal. What do you think?
Without a doubt.
Okay. So
and you called it, Ted. I mean, we said it last week. The Democrats were weak and they were going to cave, and they caved. And for those of us who are dependent on Obamacare, we all got screwed today.
I'm one of them. Yeah. And that is so basically we have 8 traitors, including Tim Kaine, from whom I really expected more.
Yeah.
Angus King, from which I expect nothing.
No.
And a bunch and a half dozen others.
But both of New Hampshire's senators, I expected much more from them.
Yeah.
Jeanne Shaheen and Maggie Hassan, so disappointing.
Very disappointing. Maggie Hassan in particular. I have a personal connection there that I'm not going to get into, but really, really annoying as hell. So basically there's a lot of mixed reporting here about how important this vote is. I'm seeing everything, John, from this is the floodgates have opened. This means the shutdown is coming to an end. There's nothing Democrats can do. Obviously they can't do anything in the House. The Republicans control both houses. But there's also reporting saying, no, it's not done yet. There has to be a few more votes. It's just a procedural vote. It doesn't mean that you get to the 60 vote filibuster breaking super majority.
Right.
So it's a little confusing. And also, so basically this deal says that we get an extension through January 30th. So the government is funded for a quarter. Democrats don't seem to have gotten anything. They seem to have gotten rolled here. I mean, basically, retroactive pay for the people who've been furloughed, they would have gotten that anyway.
Yeah.
1,000,000%. That's the law. I mean, no matter what Trump says, right? Restoring SNAP and Veteran Affairs benefits. Okay. I mean, that's good, obviously. But all they're going to get is a vote on the principal issue at hand here, which is the Affordable Care Act subsidies and tax breaks. They're not going to get a guaranteed support for it. They're going to get a vote, and the Republicans will just vote no. So if they even get a vote, right? I mean, this is about maybe getting Republicans on the record as being against the Affordable Care Act before the midterms. I mean, it does really seem like a surrender. Hakeem Jeffries is actually displayed emotion of actual anger and seems to be actually annoyed, something we don't normally see. But there's nothing he can do about it over in the House of Representatives. The House is controlled by the GOP. What now?
That's exactly right. Well, this is an interesting thing. So this deal that may or may not be on the table today is not what the House passed. And remember, the idea was the House passed the Trump budget, period. And then they went into recess and everybody went home. So the House hasn't been in session for a month. There's nobody on Capitol Hill. There was an article in today's Washington Post saying businesses are going bankrupt because there's nobody on Capitol Hill between the shutdown and the recess. Okay, so the Senate then has come up with its own agreement. That means that the House is going to have to come back and vote on the Senate version, which is exactly the opposite of what they wanted to do. They wanted to pass the House version, and then the Senate votes on the House version. Now it's reversed. Well, Hakeem Jeffries said last night that he can he can speak for literally every Democratic vote in the House, and every single Democrat will vote no on the budget that comes out of the Senate. Well, the Republicans need 7 Democratic senators to pass this thing. The House needs only 3 Republican congressmen to kill it. So I'm wondering now if attention should shift to the House, because this is not what Mike Johnson said he was going to pass.
So basically confusion reigns, and confusion is the best hope of people who still want to have government-backed insurance.
And I'll tell you what, if people don't really know how government works, 6th grade physics, 9th grade civics was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Watch this. This is how the sausage is made, and it's not pretty.
No, it really isn't.
No.
It's bizarre.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, so I think this is a really bad look for Democrats. Let's do some analysis here. I mean, what exactly is up with the Senate caucus? I mean, Schumer is the minority leader. He's the boss of the Democrats in the Senate. He told them all to vote no. He's voting no.
Yeah.
Personally, how come he couldn't keep his caucus in line?
That's a great question. And the reason is because with a wink and a nod last night, he said, well, I'm going to vote against it, but you vote the way you want to vote. So that's not whipping votes. There's a majority whip and a minority whip, because in the olden days, in the 1700s and the 1800s, they used this figurative whip to get people to vote the way leadership wanted them to vote. So it's become formalized in the position of minority and majority whip. Schumer did not whip votes last night. He told them to vote their conscience, which is very dangerous. That is a concession that you've lost.
Yeah.
So just go ahead and vote any way you want to vote. 99.9% of the time, and I mean this quite literally, votes are whipped. Nobody is free to vote their conscience. That's the duopoly that we have.
John, I don't understand though. So just last week, I mean, I know it's like, sort of like Winston Smith in 1984, you start to question your own memory. But if memory serves, less than a week ago, Democrats just won a stunning series of victories in these off-year elections. And everyone was saying, and then we had a lot of, hand-wringing on the part of Republicans, some of whom are very smart, analytical Republicans, who said, we're about to get our clocks cleaned in the midterms next November. We're in deep shit. The economy is making there's some blinking warning lights right now. I mean, for the Democrats, you're winning. We talked about how the Democrats have a predilection for, snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. But still, even by those standards, this is kind of stunning, isn't it? Right? I mean, you guys kept this shutdown going for over a month, and you're literally not going to get shit out of it because 8 douchebags decided to cross over?
Mm-hmm. That is exactly what's wrong with the Democratic Party. They took their wins from Tuesday and they said, the most important thing was that we won on Tuesday and we flipped a couple of state legislatures and we won a bunch of school boards and we won in Republican seats in Pennsylvania that no Democrat had ever won before. We don't really care about helping people with this ACA situation. So we're just going to take our wins and go home. And that's what they're doing. Because they don't care about people like you and me, Ted. They don't care if we can't afford our healthcare policies.
No, they really don't. I think they're understating the point too. When they say, so there's 42 million Americans who receive these subsidies, right? Mm-hmm. They're saying they're expecting between 2 and 4 million people not to renew. I call bullshit on that. I think it's going to be a lot more. I mean, when you go from, the subsidies are going up well over 100% for the average person. And in many cases, it's a bell curve. In some cases, it'll only go up a little bit. But in other cases, it's going to go up a whole fuck ton. It's going to triple or quadruple. Those triple or quadruple people are not renewing.
Yes.
Especially if they're like under 60 and they're like, I'll derp through this.
Exactly. Listen, if you're a Democrat, this is bad. If you're a Republican, it's still bad. That's what this comes down to.
Yeah, it's going to be a hate off.
Yes.
Next in the midterms. And I guess the question is, will the midterms be nationalized? I don't know. They rarely are.
Rarely.
94, 74.
Yeah.
82.
94, 74, 80.
82, right?
82, 64, only because Kennedy had been killed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So bizarre.
Yep.
Okay. So I don't know where we go from here. I mean, the whole thing is very, very strange. Manya the cat says, I think they're just putting up resistance for show while the corporate overlords commanded them to surrender. John, do you think this was about the flight delays? You're hearing Democrats say like, well, they were really freaking out over the idea that they might get blamed for the meltdown of the air traffic control system. We have an average. Yesterday there were over 2,000 flight cancellations. Yeah, we all know about the
very heavy
fly. About the ripple
cancellations. And the funny thing too is, at least according to the New York Times, we've actually been saved from more cancellations because I didn't know this. One of the lightest travel periods is the first 2 weeks of November because people are waiting until Thanksgiving to do their travel.
Yeah, John, this is actually a really good time for future reference. This is a great time. We're ending a great time to travel.
Yeah.
Like October 15th to November 15th.
Yeah.
I once flew to Beijing, round trip from New York via Detroit to Beijing on Northwest for $400.
Are you kidding me?
Granted, it was coach.
Yeah, but still, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's a great time of the year. January is also another great time of the year.
January is a great time.
Like February 8th or so.
Yeah.
You can go anywhere. It costs nothing. And the weather's often not as shitty as you think wherever you go. Like, it's France. How bad could it be? It'll be drizzling. It'll be 43. Yeah. It's still France. The croissants are still good. So what happens now? I mean, to me, I'm thinking about like, even if the Democrats don't care about us, which I 100,000,000% agree with you, you're right. They don't care. But the thing is, the weakness that it conveys, I mean, it's like, why vote for them? Right. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like you're winning and you throw away your all the polls show that the Republicans were getting their clocks cleaned in public opinion because of the shutdown. Now Democrats roll. And I know Schumer's probably really frustrated. It's like, well, we've got these 8 assholes, but were these 8 assholes offered anything? I mean, they're only I don't even understand. You got to help me with this. You're being promised a vote. You're being promised a vote that you're going to lose because of the numbers in the House and the Senate. Why do you want this promise?
Yeah.
Why do you and by the way, will you get that vote? Is this just about getting Republicans on the record voting against the subsidies so that maybe if they have the balls in October next year, Democrats running for re-election or election can say, Senator John Smith voted against American health care. This little girl died as a result.
Probably.
John Smith hates you.
Yeah. That's probably what we're talking about here.
That's all it is.
I think so. It's all politics. They don't care about us. That's the bottom line. I mean, I can count on one hand the number of senators that I think truly care about the American people. Well, I can count on one finger. I think it's Bernie Sanders. I really do.
Yeah, he does care. Someone's asking, Real's asking me, but what year was that, Ted? I don't know what you're talking about. Real, please clarify. So, yeah, I don't know. It's really crazy. looking up transhumanist politicians by state shows you clearly who works for the WEF. People like Dan Crenshaw, Pete Buttigieg.
Oh, don't get me started on Crenshaw. Oh, my
Ivanka
God.
Trump, Tulsi Gabbard, etc.
Crenshaw is one of those scumbags that is in a league all of his own. You know what? Let me tell you about Crenshaw. So I briefly dated this woman who was considerably younger than I. Very, very attractive, a leader in her field. And we were at her place watching a movie one night, and it was about midnight. And her phone was on the floor near me. So midnight, and the phone buzzes. She gets a text message. It's from fucking Crenshaw. And he says, "What are you wearing?" And I'm like, I said, "It's Dan Crenshaw." He says, "What are you wearing?" And she says, "Oh, that asshole won't leave me alone." So I took the phone and I wrote back. I said, "Crenshaw, this is her boyfriend. Why don't you ask your wife what she's wearing?" And he texts back, "Sorry, scumbag." His wife they had a 10-month-old baby at the time, but he's asking my girlfriend what she's wearing at 12 o'clock at night. And then she forwarded me some of his other text messages. They were filthy. And she saved them just in case she needed to use them against him.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. He's a scumbag.
Insane. Soden2324, thank you so much for the 1999 donation. Good morning, guys. Hope all is well. Fuck this shutdown. My mom was stuck on a plane in Norfolk for 4 hours. Then the flight was canceled. We're better. We are way better than this. Yeah, well, that's undeniably. It's ridiculous. I mean, if we were Mali and we had no money, but we're literally pretending, tying our hands behind our budgetary hands behind our backs and pretending like we have no money. Also, thanks for the $5 for Real Lumpen Proletariat. Great show. Can you have a URL in your description to directly send you and Robbie donations? Don't these platforms take huge % of contributions? You can. I'm going to put up the PayPal link. That's the most direct. I know they take part of it, but it's not nearly as much as some of the others. DeProgram podcast at Gmail is the PayPal donation button, and I'll try to find one that like minimizes the fee, because I know everybody hates paying the fee. It's like when you donate to a charity and you know they're taking a huge lump off the top. It's just irritating as shit. Again, it's DeProgram podcast at Gmail if you want to go over to PayPal. I know some people hate PayPal, and if you want to, so that's much appreciated. Also, you can do it through the YouTube, and you can do the donation through Rumble. They don't take anything. Yeah, they don't take anything at all. So you can definitely do that. This was a YouTube question though. So once we have Robbie back, we'll bring him back on to explain the whole desire, why we do prefer, if it's practical for you to watch us on Rumble rather than YouTube, just because we get a lot higher percentage of the money. So thank you so much for that. Let's see. See, this is why I need Robbie back, because I'm like so busy like going down the scroll and all that. Anyway, so all right, we have other stuff to talk about here. Are we done with the shutdown? I mean, what do you think? So, okay, what do you think is going to happen here? I mean, is this basically the beginning of the end? Have the Democrats lost, and is this over? Well, are these 8 traitors going to fuck us, or is there obviously nothing's going to happen in the House, Hakeem Jeffries aside. Right. But they're going to cave. They're going to cave. Yeah. I tried to read as much as I could about what exactly this deal is. And it's little stuff, Ted. First of all, it's not a full year budget. It only gets us to January. And it includes things like a guarantee that federal workers who've been furloughed will get their pay. And it reinstates everybody who was fired by Trump over the last couple of months. And he's decimated the Justice Department.
So it's little stuff. The Democrats are agreeing to all these little things, and then they're giving up the ACA subsidy, just giving it up.
And that's the end of the ACA. And I mean, it is gonna drive the healthcare system off a cliff potentially, right? I mean, because not only is the ACA going to collapse, because it's been teetering on the edge of disaster for years, and now, you know, the whole theory behind this stupid thing that the Heritage Foundation came up with when it was Romney Care was that if you know, it was all about volume, right? How do we do it?
Yeah.
Volume. And so, you know, you get a lot of people in this plan, and then the plans can negotiate better rates with the pharmaceutical companies and the healthcare companies, blah blah blah. But if you have fewer of those people, then that's not true anymore. And it's also underpinning the private insurance system. And it's the whole subsidies are going to go away. Prices are going to go up across the board, including for people who aren't even insured.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I told you I went from roughly $900 a month to $1,900 a month, and I'm not sure how I'm going to manage this. I can't do it. I don't have $1,900 a month for health insurance.
No, it's insane. Mm-mm. Yeah, I mean, right now that's more than this show pays. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll see what happens there, obviously. All right, so let's talk about these. Do you want to talk about Nord Stream, or you want to talk about the pardons?
Let's talk about the pardons.
Okay.
So as you mentioned, Ted, the president has the legal right, the constitutional right to pardon anybody he wants.
Sure.
And there are stories about Abraham Lincoln staying up late into the night and pardoning people by candlelight, mostly deserters, because to desert from your army unit in the Civil War was a death sentence. You were to be executed for that, and he said that no one should be executed for cowardice. So he would stay awake at night just signing pardons. No president has pardoned as many people in American history as Donald Trump has. And another thing about Donald Trump is most presidents wait until the period between an election and an inauguration. So between early November and January 20th, we usually see a flood of pardons. Donald Trump pardons people anytime the mood strikes him. But the problem is many of these people, some might even say most of these people, just aren't deserving of a pardon if you look at why they were convicted of a crime in the first place. And the whole idea of a pardon is that you've committed a crime, you've admitted to the crime, and then you've put your life on the right track, and you've righted the ship. I'd say really Rudy Giuliani doesn't fit that category, or many of these other people.
Well, how worthwhile is this anyway, right? Don't most of these people, if they face charges, face state charges?
In Giuliani's case, yes.
So then I mean, I heard on this morning on the radio someone arguing that even a federal pardon is something that you can take to a state judge and argue and say these charges should be dropped because the U.S. government doesn't care about them. So why should the state of whatever care about them? Is that true? It doesn't strike me as true.
In some cases it is, but like with my state pardon that I mentioned, Governor Terry McAuliffe, I didn't even apply for a pardon. Governor Terry McAuliffe followed my case and pardoned me. Just like that. I got this big certificate in the mail with a gold seal on it and the governor's signature. It was all very ceremonial. But I hadn't committed any state crime. Still, it was kind of a nice symbolic thing to do. And in a lot of these cases, that's what Trump is doing. There was no danger that Rudy Giuliani was going to go to a federal prison. I don't think anybody in America believed Rudy Giuliani was eventually going to go to a federal prison. A state prison, on the other hand, is a real possibility, and it continues to be a real possibility. We should add one thing too. I had a long conversation with a friend of mine last night who's not just a Republican and a conservative, but like irrationally Republican and conservative, where you challenge him on his beliefs and he doesn't have any idea why he believes these things. It's just, that's what the right says he's supposed to believe. And so he just parrots it back. So anyway, we were talking about Elise Stefanik last night, and she announced her candidacy for governor against Hochul. And I said, I can't stand Hochul, but I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of Elise Stefanik either. I think that wherever the wind happens to be blowing, that's where Elise Stefanik is on the issues. And he said, "Oh, Elise Stefanik's going to win." And I said, absolutely not.
No
not
fucking
this
chance.
year or any other year.
No
Stefanik's
way.
not going to win. And he came up with this very complicated reason that it's going to be on one single issue, he said. The issue is that New Yorkers are not allowed to carry guns. Everywhere you go, even if you have a gun permit, there are signs that say no guns, no guns, no guns, no guns, especially around New York City. Like he said, I can't even carry my gun to the gas station.
True.
I'm like, why would you want to carry your gun to the gas station?
And that's not true, right? Ever since 2018, the Supreme Court decision.
Supreme Court case. And
let me tell you, it's like, it's not there are more signs in Kabul that say you can't carry a gun into an establishment than there are in New York.
Seriously.
There's no signs on the door that say like no guns or like a picture of a handgun with a cross through it. That's just not true. I mean, guns are so off the radar in New York City that nobody bothers to ban them from their businesses. Yeah.
I'm responding to BIA real quick. You're putting words in my mouth. Okay. So anyway, he said that that New Yorkers are so frustrated that they're going to vote for Stefanik because they want to carry their guns. And I said, that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard you say. And I've heard you say some really stupid things.
I agree.
I said, people are going to say, oh, I'm pro-choice and I support the social safety net, but I'm going to vote for Stefanik because she wants me to be able to carry a gun to a gas station. I said, that's seriously what you're telling me. I said, listen, I'm going to say it right now where there's plenty of time. Elise Stefanik will not be governor of New York, period.
No, there's no way. I mean, some other Republican might possibly be. I mean, it's not outside of the realm of possibility. I mean, Robert Pataki was governor of New York.
Sure.
It can happen.
He was a good one too, actually.
But I got to say, the population so in New York State, right, basically roughly half the population lives in New York City and is fervently like left-wing Democrat. And then half the population lives everywhere else, right? Like what we call upstate, which basically means everything outside of New York City. And that population, so the thing is though, the population of upstate is like 60-40 Republican. The population of New York City and environs is probably 80% Democratic. So a Democrat basically wins unless the Democrat fucks up big time. Elise Stefanik is not going to be the governor of New York. She just won't. Even if somehow it turns out Kathy Hochul is the Eric Adams of Albany, that still won't happen. It's just the demographics don't work anymore. I'd have to say it's almost like California. I don't think the Republican Party is viable, for statewide office in New York anymore. The demographics have just changed. I don't think she's running.
I agree.
Anyway, the thing is, the lieutenant governor in New York is kind of like, it's very old fashioned. It's a separate thing, right? The governor doesn't pick their lieutenant governor. So she could be lieutenant governor easily under Hochul. That could happen.
Ideologically, they're not too terribly far apart.
That's true. I mean, Hochul is trying to pivot a little bit over to the left. She's scooching to the left in the wake of the Mamdani win, but she's not. She's a conservative Democrat from Buffalo, way up by the Canadian border.
That's right. I have to admit, too, that I think Elise Stefanik got screwed politically. She was supposed to be ambassador to the United Nations. Trump ended up taking that nomination away from her because he thought it would be better for her to remain in her congressional seat. I think she represents Staten Island and a little sliver of Brooklyn. Breaking news. The Supreme Court rejects a call to overturn its decision legalizing same-sex marriage. There's a shock.
I was not surprised there.
No.
At all.
So Stefanik ended up...
Also, the Supreme Court will decide, a bunch of stuff is coming out of the court right now. It is going to take a case deciding whether mail-in ballots have to be received by Election Day. They should not. They should have to be postmarked by Election Day because nobody can control the post office, right?
Agree completely. Yes. Agree completely. So anyway, Stefanik ended up keeping her congressional seat. Then she had to figure out something to do because she's not going to be in the administration now. And she ended up just saying, well, I'll run for governor. And I said to him, she's very talented. She was going places in the Republican Party. And I think her political career is done. She can't get elected to the Senate. She won't get elected governor. Another Republican's going to take her House seat. I think she's done.
What is, why is she running for governor? Why, I firmly believe in the doctrine that you should never, ever pick a fight that you cannot win. If you have a chance at winning, but there's no chance here. Okay, maybe not. That's an exaggeration. I think she has like a 5-to-1 chance of prevailing in a gubernatorial race, right? Those aren't, you don't raise money on 5-to-1.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Hochul's a terrible human being. I wouldn't lose a minute's sleep if Hochul were to lose that election. But I just don't think, that she's got a chance.
No way.
No.
It's so funny. Someone said it wouldn't be an episode of DeProgram without an Afghanistan comparison.
Yeah, we can't help it.
We can't. We have to. Well, once it's a I won't go down that hole. All right. So yeah. So what? So okay. So in terms, do we want to leave the pardons there? Oh, by the way, I do have to ask you about Darryl Strawberry.
Man, every time I open a paper and I see somebody's been pardoned. See, Darryl Strawberry is another guy who didn't even apply. Trump loves the Mets. Darryl Strawberry was a giant on the Mets. He ran into some problems with taxes and drugs and a couple of other things. He gets a pardon. Yeah, so there it is.
Are you at the point now, like, how you go through a point where you're sort of like, you're hopeful, and then like after a while you give up. Like I got to that point applying for the Pulitzer year after year after year. And in all fairness, I have been a finalist, which is more than most of my peers can say. So I probably shouldn't whinge too much, but still, I got to the point where I really, I said that I gave up, but I didn't really give up. Like I sort of crossed my fingers, like, but I still kind of wanted, and I'm still checking. Then I stopped paying attention to who won. And then finally I stopped applying. Like, where are you at in this cycle? You're still hopeful?
I'm hopeful because if anybody's going to pardon me, it's going to be Donald Trump. And but like you, excuse me, like you, I'm at the point where if I don't get it while Donald Trump is president, I give up. It's going to be the end of it for me.
You don't think President J.D. Vance will take care of it? Will take care of you?
I don't think so. Yeah.
All right. So yeah. By the way, your friend is totally wrong about Elise Stefanik and about guns. Like New York City voters don't carry guns at all. At all. And like most people in the state don't carry guns.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
It's just not I'm not even saying they shouldn't have the right to do it. I'm a Second Amendment person. I just don't think that's just not going to determine the results of a gubernatorial election.
No. And I said to him, I remember when I got my concealed carry permit, they specifically warned me that the multi-state concealed carry permit is not recognized in New York, New Jersey, or Maryland. So don't carry a concealed weapon in New York, New Jersey, or Maryland. Okay, fine.
I don't understand. By the way, the concealed carry thing, I never understood. So it's like you're allowed to carry the gun visibly, but not. So I mean, what is the thinking behind like whether society benefits from people who are carrying a handgun, carrying it openly versus not openly? I really never understood this.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know, to tell you the truth. I do watch a lot of videos on TikTok, again last night, of guys wearing sidearms and then just standing in front of a police station with a gimbal recording. And the cops always lose their minds and come outside. Hey, whoa, what's going on here? He said, just practicing my First Amendment freedoms. I'm an independent journalist working on a story. Yeah, well, you're wearing a gun, which is perfectly legal. And then they always say, you're dismissed. They say to the cops, you're dismissed. You can go now.
Real is asking us about a Russia story. Any thoughts on the Sergei Lavrov situation? Supposedly, Putin's second daughter is working against him. He's been sidelined from a Security Council meeting and is not going to the G20.
Yeah, that surprised me a lot, actually. I told you when I was at the United Nations, Sergei Lavrov was the Russian ambassador. And so I got to work with him at the Security Council. This guy is a very, very, very impressive diplomat, better than most American diplomats for whom I worked. And but he has no political aspirations in Russia at all. He's a diplomat. He just likes to be a diplomat.
And he's very loyal.
Very intensely loyal. If there's something going on behind the scenes where he's in the process of being sidelined, my educated guess is that he'll just retire quietly.
Yeah,
that's it.
I would agree with that. Prasmataz is asking me, who would you trust more? You should answer this question too, John. In their palace at their mercy, Rashid Dostum or God Emperor Trumpenreich? I've
Trump.
been in that situation, as you know, if you listen to the show.
Dostum's
and I would say
a monster.
Rashid Dostum.
Yeah, Dostum's a monster.
He is a monster, but he didn't lie to me.
Well,
and what he exposed
guy
to me was that Donald Rumsfeld was an even bigger monster.
Yeah, well, that's true too.
John is asking, you're being asked by Suvda, not Suda. Okay. It's very unlikely, but what if John Brennan had the power to pardon you? Would you accept it from him? What's the beef between you two? I understand he's a bad guy.
My beef with him is that he specifically tasked the Justice Department with prosecuting me, and then they trumped up espionage charges, which had to be dismissed, and threatened me with 45 years in prison. It bankrupted me. I lost friends. I lost my family. I lost my pension. I lost my freedom. I lost everything. That's my beef with John Brennan. John Brennan's going to get what he has coming to him.
That's a big beef. John McGuire has a question for you. Thanks for the $10, by the way.
Is
there another angle you can work outside of a pardon that would reinstate your pension? I'm going to make this a two-parter. We also have a question is there anything that this is from John Ward. What can we do to help you get a pardon? In my opinion, you should get a presidential Medal of Freedom. Agreed.
Oh, thank you. To answer John McGuire's question first, yeah, there is a second angle. It's called a writ of coram nobis. I happened to be at a dinner party, and I was sitting next to a circuit court judge, and we were talking about this. And I mentioned a writ of coram nobis, and she said, wow, she goes, a writ of coram nobis. I haven't even heard that term since law school. But what it is the Justice Department would have to go to the Eastern District of Virginia court and say, we made a mistake in prosecuting John Kiriakou. We recognize the mistake, we admit the mistake, and we ask that his conviction be overturned. They're exceedingly rare. There was one in like 2001. There was one in 1986, but they're very, very rare. With that said, the Trump Justice Department hates the legal system as much as I do. So maybe I stand a chance there. I don't know. We'll see. And then what can people do? Tell you the truth. An email or a letter to the U.S. pardon attorney, Ed Martin, would be very helpful. Thank you.
Okay, so maybe we should get that address, but just Google, right?
Yeah.
What's better, snail mail or email? I always feel like snail mail.
I think snail mail is better.
So just Google this. Just Google the mailing address for, again, who is that again?
His name is Ed Martin. Here it is, right here. You know what? I'll put it in. I'll put it in the chats.
Okay, and I'll put it up on the screen. So Ed Martin is the guy, and and try to follow, like maybe go to AI or whatever and do formal terms of address, form of address for the letter. Print it out, sign it, yourself, and drop it off with an old-fashioned stamp in the mailbox. That's the way to go.
Thank you, Tarek.
Okay, so that's something we should gin up here. We should like put that up every day, and encourage people to write. Because honestly, if they got a trickle of letters every day, I think it might help.
A friend of mine called Martin the other day. They're friends. And he called to say, come on, man, you got to pardon John Kiriakou. And Ed Martin reportedly said, you're the third person today to call him to call me about him. Just tell him to relax. His file is literally on my desk, is what he said. So.
Well, that's easy to say when you're not the one waiting for the pardon, to relax.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, but hopefully from Ed's lips to God's ears.
Man, I hope so.
All right, let's talk about Nord Stream. So German investigators, they've launched this investigation that, to me, and I think you probably agree with me, seemed like a lot of bullshit. Basically, this sidelines the Cy Hirsch theory of the U.S. Navy being involved in going down to the bottom of the sea and to the North Sea and blowing up Nord Stream back in 2022, one of the biggest acts of eco-terrorism in the history of the world. Anyway, the Germans say that they're pointing to not really kind of like we'd been told this story about the Ukrainian like pleasure craft with some like random Ukrainians out drinking a little too much vodka going down to blow up the pipeline. Now the Germans are drawing a bead on the guy who was literally the commander of the Ukrainian armed forces, Valery Zaluzhny. He's currently the Ukrainian ambassador to London. Wall Street Journal says the Germans are after him and that this is causing all sorts of rifts between Germany and Ukraine, between Poland and Germany, and so on. Not that Poland and Germany have ever had any problems. So anyway, there's this key guy, Serhei K, who's a SBU guy. That's the Ukrainians, traced by basically a speed camera photo using facial recognition software. And the Germans seem pretty confident that they've got their working theory and that their working theory is accurate and they're ready to start, issuing subpoenas and all that. What do you think? What do you make of all this? I mean, it's definitely a wrinkle that I hadn't considered.
Yeah, this is kind of a crazy development, isn't it? And it's one of those situations, I think, where now in the halls of the CIA and the Pentagon, they just wish this thing would go away. The truth is not supposed to come out in an operation like this. Whoever did it, the result was a sop to the Ukrainians and the West. And the Germans can't leave well enough alone. And so I think that behind closed doors today, there are probably calls going back and forth to the Germans saying, come on, you guys, just let this go. It's not going to help anybody getting to the bottom of the truth.
Why are the Germans? I mean, first of all, I guess the question is, do you think the Germans are right? And I guess the other question would be, two things can both be true at the same time, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe the Ukrainians partnered up with the U.S. Navy. Maybe Cy Hirsch is still right, but he only had half the story.
Half the story, right. And I think that's probably the case. Not to get too far off the subject, but this is the problem. Yeah, this is the problem with Cy, is that he'll run with a story when he has just one source. Mm-hmm. And so oftentimes he does have that kernel of truth for the story. He just doesn't have the details. I think this is probably one of those cases. It very well could have been a joint operation, which makes more sense. You'd need that kind of expertise if you don't have it in-house.
Right. And the thing is, I mean, so what about the legal ramifications, right? I mean, this is a act of economic and ecological terror right in Europe, right? I mean, so the EU has been doing everything it can to turn a blind eye to all this for 3 years. Yeah. But the Germans are like, these German prosecutors are like a dog with a bone, and they're not letting it go. They at this point, they can't let it go. So what next?
Well, I think that we're going to see people prosecuted. I think that especially this Ukrainian military person that the Wall Street Journal is reporting on. They're saying that he's going to be in the dock soon. He's going to be forced to testify whether he likes it or not. And I think somebody, probably this guy, is going to go to prison.
Really?
I do.
Even somebody's going to have to former commander of the Ukrainian armed forces. Yeah. I mean, he's the Colin Powell.
He's the Colin Powell. But I mean, he's a nobody now. It's all over for him.
We have some breaking news coming out of India. There's been a car bombing in New Delhi, outside of the Red Fort. Big tourist attraction if you've ever been there to New Delhi.
There are more than 24 injured so far. I haven't seen any number on deaths, but it's clearly a terrorist attack. The pictures and video from the Red Fort this morning are grisly.
Care to speculate?
I wouldn't be at all surprised if it was Kashmiri separatist groups again. I'm going to get death threats from Pakistanis now, like I did 2 or 3 weeks ago, when I say that these groups carry out terrorist attacks. Yeah, they carry out terrorist attacks because they're terrorist groups. Whatever your political point is irrelevant. If you're out there murdering civilians, you're a terrorist.
That's period. For political purposes. That's the definition.
That's the definition of terrorism. So I would bet this is probably Kashmiris.
Well, we'll follow all these stories coming up tomorrow. As I said, we're here Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern time. We'll be back tomorrow, even though it's Veterans Day. So please catch up with us then. Please like, follow, and share the show, whether you're watching live or you're watching on streaming. We really appreciate you. We are back fully funded on YouTube. And of course, we were never dropped off Rumble, but we really appreciate your support over there. If you want to donate to the show without getting dinged for a service fee, please do it over on Rumble, and we'll have Robbie back next week. Thank you again if you're joining us on the late side. We made our $1,000 goal for the month of November. You will not be hearing from us begging for money for Robbie Aid for the rest of the month. So thank you so much for coming through. I'm going to be here starting up in just about 30 seconds.